Okay, so now we are going to do exercise D. So let's look at the journal entry. You can pause the video and read the journal entry and then circle yes or no, depending on if the sentences are true or false. And as we've done before, I want you to change the sentence if it is not correct. Okay? So go ahead and pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so now let's take a look at this together. I'm going to read it so you can follow along. My son Stanley is only 12 years old, but he has already learned to manage his time well. Every Sunday he makes a to-do list. He writes deadlines in his calendar. During the week, he does all his chores before he starts his homework. He puts the dishes away, takes out the trash, and helps Megan, his little sister, with her homework. After he helps Megan, he works on his homework. He doesn't procrastinate. When a project is due on Friday, he tries to finish it on Wednesday or Thursday. He gets all his work done before he watches any TV. I am very different from Stanley. I don't prioritize well. I really need to learn some time management skills from my son. Parents can learn a lot from their children too. Okay, so number 1. Before the week begins, Stanley writes deadlines in his calendar. Okay, and the answer is yes, because we can see here every Sunday, which is before the week begins, he makes a to-do list. He writes deadlines in his calendar. Okay, number 2. He does his chores after he starts his homework. This is no, and you can see here he does all his chores before he starts his homework. So you can change after to before. Number 3. Before he does his homework, he helps Megan. Okay, so let's take a look here. It says, after he helps Megan, he works on his homework. Okay, so that is true because he does he helps Megan first. As you can see, after introduces the first activity, and then he works on his homework. So it is correct. Before he does his homework, he helps Megan. Yes. Number 4. He usually starts a project when it is due. And we know the answer is no. So if you see here, when a project is due, for example, on Friday, he tries to finish it on Wednesday or Thursday, meaning before it is due. So instead of when, we can say he usually starts a project before it is due. Okay? And then number 5. When he has done all his work, he watches TV. Okay? And if you look here, it says he gets all his work done before he watches any TV. So yeah, when he has done all his work, he watches TV. So this is true, yes. But of course, you can also say after he has done all his work, but it's the same meaning. Okay, so letter E says, write a paragraph about your daily activities. Use when, before, and after. Okay, so this is a very good activity to do because, as I mentioned earlier, the clauses, these clauses, especially before and after clauses, can be very confusing. So if it's difficult for you, you can make a timeline first, like this, a schedule with the times, and that will help you to get used to using before and after. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and move on to the next test, Unit 7. So you can do this on your own time, or you can pause the video now and you can work on it now. Okay, but now let's take a look at Unit 7. So again, listen to the audio. I'm going to play it twice and answer these questions. Circle the correct answer and complete the chart. Okay? And also, as you as you write the answers, of course, you're just going to write short answers here, but think about how you can answer the questions in complete sentences. Okay, here we go.
Unit 7, Test. Section A, Listening.
Hey, Rob. I'm thinking about buying a new computer. It could help the kids with their homework. They've been asking for one, and I could use it too.
How much do computers cost?
Oops, I'm so sorry. I was supposed to minimize this so you can see the questions. Okay, so let's do that one more time, starting from around here.
Listening.
Hey, Rob. I'm thinking about buying a new computer. It could help the kids with their homework. They've been asking for one, and I could use it too.
How much do computers cost? Can we afford it?
Well, used computers cost about $200.
$200. And a printer? How much is a used printer?
About $50.
What about a new computer?
I think a new computer and a new printer cost about $800. We can afford to pay cash for a used computer and printer, but I'm worried about spending $800 for new ones. We'd have to buy them on credit.
I know, but I'd prefer a new computer and printer. I know we have enough money in our savings account, so if we use a credit card and pay it off immediately, there'll be no problem.
Right. So 0 financing, 0 interest, 0 debt. I like that. And I'm really excited about getting online with my family. I wonder how much that costs.
I think it's about $50 a month. Hey, let's worry about that later, one thing at a time.
Great. Let's go tell the kids.
Okay, let's listen to it one more time.
Unit 7, Test. Section A, Listening.
Hey, Rob. I'm thinking about buying a new computer. It could help the kids with their homework. They've been asking for one, and I could use it too.
How much do computers cost? Can we afford it?
Well, used computers cost about $200.
$200. And a printer? How much is a used printer?
About $50.
What about a new computer?
I think a new computer and a new printer cost about $800. We can afford to pay cash for a used computer and printer, but I'm worried about spending $800 for new ones. We'd have to buy them on credit.
I know, but I'd prefer a new computer and printer. I know we have enough money in our savings account, so if we use a credit card and pay it off immediately, there'll be no problem.
Right. So 0 financing, 0 interest, 0 debt. I like that. And I'm really excited about getting online with my family. I wonder how much that costs.
I think it's about $50 a month. Hey, let's worry about that later, one thing at a time.
Great. Let's go tell the kids.
Okay, so let's look at number 1. What is their relation? Actually, before I ask this, let me ask another question. Who is talking? Who is talking in this conversation? Okay, so we only heard one name, Rob, and of course that's the husband. So we could say Rob and his wife are talking. Rob and his wife are talking. Or you could also just say husband and wife are talking, and that's actually the answer to number 1. So what is their relationship? And we can say they are husband and wife. Okay, letter B. Okay, and number 2, why do they want a computer? Okay, so we can say they want a computer because actually in this case you don't need to say because. Since we have 2 here. So they want a computer to help kids with homework. Okay, letter C. And then number 3, what is important to them as they decide? Okay, so we can say the cost is important to them as they decide. Okay, so letter A. And then number 4, which way will they pay? And we can also ask how will they pay? That's actually more natural and more common. So how will they pay? We can say they will pay with a credit card. letter A, with a credit card. Okay, now let's take a look at the chart. You can see the question, how much, and of course the categories here. And so we practiced making questions before when we were in Unit 7. So we can ask questions like, how much is a used computer? We can also say, what is the cost of a used computer? Okay, so when we say cost, and if we use it as a noun, we usually use what? What is the cost? Or how much is a used computer? Okay, so for this one, we can say, now let's practice making sentences. So again, let me ask, how much is a used computer? Okay, so you can say a used computer is about, or a used computer is $200. Okay, a used computer is $200. And then the same question for number 2. How much is a used printer? Or what is the cost of a used printer? Okay, and remember, we have to put here. We can say a used printer is, or costs. We can use cost as a verb as well. A used printer costs $50. Okay? And then number 3, what is the cost of a new computer and printer? So we can say the cost of a new computer and printer is $800. Or we can say a new computer and printer cost, and that's a verb in this case, cost $800. And since a new computer and printer is plural, we can use the verb cost. Okay, and then number 4, it says amount of financing. So we can ask, how much is financing? Okay, or what is the amount of financing? And she said 0, so we can say financing is $0. Okay, the same thing. What is the amount of debt? Or how much is their debt? Okay, we can say it is $0, or the amount of debt is 0. Okay, and then number 6, what is the cost of online service? Okay, and we can also say, what is the cost of online service monthly or every month? Okay, so, or we can say, how much is online service every month? And that is $50. So we can say, the cost of online service is $50 every month, or monthly. Okay, now let's take a look at grammar, the grammar activity. We are going to practice using could and should. If you remember, we often use could with several options, or when there are lots of solutions, but you are just suggesting one of the many possible solutions. And we use should when we want to make a stronger recommendation, or when it's a common solution. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. It's difficult to get to work on time. The bus is not reliable. What should I do? Okay, and also remember, when we ask for advice, we often use what should I do rather than what could I do. Okay, so again, what should I do? Okay, and then it says, maybe you blank think about buying a used car. Okay, so this solution, and there's just one solution here. Of course, there might be more, but this is probably a good common solution, because this person seems like he or she is trying to save money, or doesn't have a lot of money, which is why she or he is taking the bus. That's why this person suggests buying a used car. So in this case, it's probably a good idea to use should. Maybe you should think about buying a used car. Okay, and also you can see here using verbs plus prepositions plus gerunds. Okay, if you remember that as well. Think about buying, or interested in seeing. But in that case, it's an adjective plus preposition plus gerund. So that's actually going to be our next grammar exercise. But just keep an eye out for those because they are very common. Verbs plus prepositions plus gerunds, and adjectives plus prepositions plus gerunds. Okay? So go ahead and pause the video and complete numbers 2 through 5 and continue when you're finished. Okay, so let's look at number 2. We're afraid of going into debt. And here's another one. So this is an adjective, afraid, preposition of, and going, gerund. Okay, what do you suggest we do? So suggest is a little less strong. So we could use could. So you and your husband could, like, there's an option. You and your husband could set up a monthly budget. Now, of course, there are lots of potential solutions for avoiding debt. So this is just one of many solutions. That's why could is a good answer for this one. Number 3, I need a credit card. Can you give me any advice? Okay. You should look for a credit card with low interest rates. Now, this is, of course, a very common answer, and just it's good advice for anyone who's looking for a credit card. So, should is a better answer in this case. Okay, and then number 4, can you suggest a good online company? Okay, so you can say you. Let's say, yeah. You could try talking to the computer teacher. She knows a lot about getting online. So instead of suggesting an actual company, this person suggests talking to the computer teacher. So could is the better answer for this case. And then number 5, my son wants to go to college, but we can't afford it. Do you have any advice? You and your son should apply for a loan, because this is, of course, very good and common advice. So you and your son should definitely apply for a loan. Sometimes you hear people adding the word definitely with should. Oh, you should definitely do this. Okay. Now, let's look at the next grammar lesson. As I mentioned, we are going to use the verbs plus, actually in this case there are no verbs. It looks like they are all adjectives. So adjectives plus prepositions plus gerunds. And remember, gerunds look like verbs but act like nouns. Okay, so I'm not going to do the first one with you since you should know already how to do these. So go ahead and pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, number 1, I'm worried about lending him the money. Okay, and then number 2, Dolores is afraid of getting into debt. Number 3, Gregory is excited about starting his new job. Okay, number 4, we are not happy about paying interest on our credit card balance. And then number 5, I'm interested in buying a used car. Okay, so these, as you can see, are all adjectives: worried, afraid, excited, happy, and interested. Okay, now we're going to do the reading activity in part 3 of the video, but you can go ahead actually and pause the video here so you can read the article. And then for part 3, I'm just gonna go ahead and read it, and you can follow along. But go ahead and pause the video, read it on your own, and answer the questions, which of course you're familiar with. You just circle yes if it is true and no if it is not true or incorrect, and fix the sentences if they are incorrect. Okay, so you can go ahead and work on that and then move on to part 3.